Question 1. Benchmark analysis indicates that contact center efficiency metrics are lagging behind industry averages. Which of the following approaches would best align with a strategy to optimize processes while upholding customer service quality and adhering to UK regulatory expectations for financial services contact centers? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive review of customer journey maps and agent workflows, gathering feedback from both customers and agents to identify and address root causes of inefficiency and dissatisfaction. Option B. Mandate the use of highly prescriptive scripts for all customer interactions, ensuring agents follow the script verbatim to maintain consistency. Option C. Implement a strict policy to reduce average handle time, AHT, across all interaction types by a predetermined percentage, incentivizing agents based solely on AHT reduction. Option D. Transition to a fully automated self-service model for all customer inquiries, eliminating the need for human agent intervention. Correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive review of customer journey maps and agent workflows, gathering feedback from both customers and agents to identify and address root causes of inefficiency and dissatisfaction. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center operations, optimizing agent performance and customer experience through effective process design. The professional challenge lies in balancing efficiency gains with the need to maintain high-quality customer interactions, ensuring compliance with relevant regulations, and fostering a positive agent environment. The pressure to demonstrate tangible improvements often leads to a focus on metrics that may not fully capture the nuances of customer satisfaction or agent well-being, requiring careful judgment to select the most impactful and ethically sound optimization strategies. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach focuses on a holistic review of the customer journey and agent workflows, identifying bottlenecks and areas for improvement through data analysis and agent feedback. This aligns with best professional practices by prioritizing a customer-centric methodology, which is crucial for long-term business success and customer loyalty. By involving agents in the process, it leverages their direct experience to identify practical solutions, fostering a sense of ownership and improving morale. This approach also implicitly supports regulatory compliance by ensuring that optimized processes do not inadvertently lead to breaches of data privacy or service-level agreements, which are often governed by frameworks like the UK's Data Protection Act 2018 and the Financial Conduct Authority's (FCA) Principles for Treating Customers Fairly. Incorrect approaches analysis, focusing solely on reducing average handle time (AHT) without considering customer satisfaction or resolution rates, is a common but flawed optimization strategy. This can lead to agents rushing through interactions, potentially missing critical information, providing incomplete solutions, and ultimately decreasing customer satisfaction. Ethically, this approach can be seen as prioritizing cost-cutting over customer well-being, potentially violating principles of fair treatment and service quality. From a regulatory perspective, if AHT reduction leads to a decline in service quality that impacts vulnerable customers or breaches specific service-level agreements mandated by regulators, it could result in non-compliance. Implementing a rigid script for all interactions, regardless of customer need or complexity, stifles agent autonomy and can lead to impersonal and frustrating customer experiences. This approach fails to acknowledge the diversity of customer inquiries and can hinder effective problem-solving. Ethically, it can be viewed as a failure to provide personalized and empathetic service. Regulatory concerns might arise if the script contains inaccurate information or fails to adequately address disclosure requirements mandated by financial or consumer protection regulations. Automating all customer interactions without providing a clear and accessible path to human agent escalation is another problematic strategy. While automation can improve efficiency for simple queries, it can alienate customers with complex issues, leading to frustration and a perception of poor service. This can have significant ethical implications, particularly for customers who may require more nuanced support or are less comfortable with technology. From a regulatory standpoint, depending on the industry, there may be requirements for accessible customer service channels, and a complete lack of human interaction could be seen as a failure to meet these obligations. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach process optimization by first defining clear objectives that encompass customer satisfaction, agent efficiency, and regulatory compliance. A data-driven approach, incorporating both quantitative metrics and qualitative feedback from customers and agents, is essential. The decision-making process should involve a thorough analysis of the potential impact of any proposed changes on all stakeholders, with a particular emphasis on maintaining ethical standards and adhering to all applicable regulations. Pilot testing and iterative refinement are crucial to ensure that optimizations achieve their intended goals without creating unintended negative consequences. Question 2. Risk assessment procedures indicate that the deployment of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) will involve the collection and processing of sensitive customer interaction data. Which of the following approaches best ensures compliance with data privacy regulations and ethical handling of customer information during this deployment? Option A. Focus on minimizing the initial deployment costs by selecting the most economical storage solutions and foregoing advanced encryption for call recordings. Option B. Prioritize the implementation of advanced UCX features for enhanced customer experience, deferring detailed privacy reviews until after the system is fully operational. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate privacy risks before and during deployment, ensuring privacy by design principles are integrated into the system configuration. Option D. Deploy UCX with default security settings and assume that standard IT security measures are sufficient to meet all data privacy obligations. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate privacy risks before and during deployment, ensuring privacy by design principles are integrated into the system configuration. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between implementing new technology for enhanced customer service and ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations. The deployment of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) involves the collection, processing, and storage of sensitive customer information, making it crucial to align technical decisions with legal and ethical obligations. The challenge lies in balancing the benefits of advanced features like intelligent routing and agent assistance with the imperative to protect customer data from unauthorized access or misuse, especially in the context of potential regulatory scrutiny. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) conducted prior to and during the UCX deployment. This aligns with the principles of data protection by design and by default, as mandated by regulations such as the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR), if the jurisdiction were the EU or similar frameworks in other jurisdictions. A DPIA systematically identifies and mitigates privacy risks associated with the processing of personal data. For UCX, this would include evaluating how call recordings, customer interaction logs, and agent data are handled, stored, and secured. It ensures that the system is configured to minimize data collection, anonymize data where possible, and implement robust access controls and encryption. This proactive approach demonstrates a commitment to regulatory compliance and builds customer trust by safeguarding their information, representing best professional practice. Incorrect approaches analysis. Focusing solely on the technical capabilities of UCX without a thorough privacy review is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach risks non-compliance with data protection laws, potentially leading to substantial fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer confidence. For instance, if call recordings are retained indefinitely without a clear legal basis or consent, it violates principles of data minimization and purpose limitation. Prioritizing cost savings over privacy controls, such as opting for less secure storage solutions or skipping necessary encryption, also constitutes a regulatory and ethical failure. Data breaches resulting from such decisions can have severe consequences, including the exposure of sensitive customer data, which is a direct violation of data protection obligations. Implementing UCX features without considering the consent mechanisms for data processing, particularly for features like call recording or sentiment analysis, is another critical failure. Regulations often require explicit consent for certain types of data processing. Ignoring this aspect can lead to legal challenges and penalties. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with deploying UCX must adopt a risk-based approach that integrates data privacy considerations from the outset. This involves 1. understanding the specific data protection laws applicable to the operating jurisdiction. 2. Conducting a thorough DPIA to identify potential privacy risks. 3. Designing and configuring the UCX system with privacy by design principles. 4. Implementing robust security measures, including access controls, encryption, and audit trails. 5. Establishing clear data retention policies and consent mechanisms. 6. Regularly reviewing and updating privacy practices in line with evolving regulations and business needs. This systematic and compliant approach ensures that technological advancements serve business objectives without compromising fundamental privacy rights. Question 3. Consider a scenario where a company is deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) to handle customer service interactions, including those involving financial transactions and personal health information. The primary goal is to improve agent efficiency and reduce average handling time. Which of the following deployment strategies best balances the need for operational efficiency with the stringent requirements of data privacy and security regulations? Option A. Prioritize displaying all customer details, including full credit card numbers and social security numbers, directly on agent screens to expedite verification processes and enable call recording for all interactions without explicit consent. Option B. Deploy UCX with minimal configuration for data security, focusing solely on call routing and basic agent functionality, assuming that customer data is inherently secure within the network. Option C. Enable call recording for all interactions and store recordings unencrypted on a shared network drive, accessible to all contact center staff for training and quality assurance purposes, without specific consent. Option D. Implement full data masking for all sensitive customer information displayed on agent desktops. Configure call recording with explicit consent mechanisms and robust encryption, and enforce granular access controls based on agent roles and responsibilities. The correct answer is D. Implement full data masking for all sensitive customer information displayed on agent desktops. Configure call recording with explicit consent mechanisms and robust encryption, and enforce granular access controls based on agent roles and responsibilities. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between operational efficiency and the regulatory mandate for data privacy and security within a contact center environment. Deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) involves handling sensitive customer information, and any misconfiguration or oversight can lead to significant compliance breaches, reputational damage, and legal repercussions. The challenge lies in balancing the need for effective call routing and agent support with the strict requirements of data protection regulations. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding and implementation of UCX features that align with data privacy regulations. This includes leveraging features like data masking for sensitive information displayed on agent screens, secure call recording with appropriate consent mechanisms and access controls, and robust access management to ensure only authorized personnel can view or interact with customer data. Adhering to the principle of least privilege and implementing encryption for data in transit and at rest are paramount. This approach directly addresses the regulatory framework by minimizing the exposure of sensitive data and ensuring that any data handled is processed and stored in a compliant manner, thereby upholding customer trust and avoiding penalties. Incorrect approaches analysis. Prioritizing only agent efficiency without considering data privacy implications represents a significant regulatory failure. For instance, displaying full credit card numbers or personally identifiable information (PI) on agent desktops, even if it speeds up call handling, directly violates data protection laws that mandate the protection of such sensitive data. This approach creates a high risk of data breaches and unauthorized access. Another incorrect approach would be to implement call recording without obtaining proper consent or without encrypting the recordings. Many jurisdictions have strict laws regarding the recording of conversations, requiring explicit consent from all parties. Failing to secure these recordings through encryption and access controls makes them vulnerable to interception and misuse, leading to severe legal and ethical violations. Finally, neglecting to configure granular access controls within UCX, allowing all agents or supervisors to access all customer interaction data, is a critical compliance failure. This broad access increases the attack surface and the likelihood of accidental or intentional data exposure, contravening the principles of data minimization and purpose limitation inherent in most data protection regulations. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with deploying UCX must adopt a risk-based approach, integrating compliance requirements from the outset of the design and implementation process. This involves proactively identifying sensitive data types, understanding the relevant regulatory obligations, e.g., GDPR, CCPA, or equivalent frameworks depending on the jurisdiction, and configuring UCX features to meet these obligations. A continuous review and audit process should be established to ensure ongoing compliance as the system evolves and regulations change. Collaboration with legal and compliance teams is essential to interpret and apply regulatory requirements correctly. Question 4. The investigation demonstrates that a Cisco Unified Contact Center Express deployment for a U.S.-based healthcare provider is facing scrutiny regarding its access control policies for customer health information. The primary concern is ensuring compliance with HIPAA regulations while maintaining agent efficiency in resolving patient inquiries. Which approach best balances these competing demands and adheres to regulatory mandates? Option A. Defer the implementation of advanced access control measures until after the initial deployment phase, prioritizing immediate operational readiness and addressing security concerns in a later update. Option B. Grant all contact center agents unrestricted access to all patient records to ensure they can quickly locate any information needed to assist patients, thereby maximizing efficiency. Option C. Implement granular access controls based on the principle of least privilege, granting agents access only to the specific patient data necessary for their defined roles and responsibilities, supported by comprehensive audit trails. Option D. Implement a blanket encryption policy for all stored patient data, assuming this sufficiently mitigates access control risks without the need for role-based permissions. The correct answer is C. Implement granular access controls based on the principle of least privilege, granting agents access only to the specific patient data necessary for their defined roles and responsibilities, supported by comprehensive audit trails. Explanation. The investigation demonstrates a common challenge in contact center deployments, balancing the need for robust security and compliance with the operational demands of providing efficient customer service. Specifically, the scenario highlights the tension between implementing strict access controls for sensitive customer data, as mandated by regulations like HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, in the U.S., and ensuring that agents have the necessary tools and information readily available to resolve customer inquiries promptly. The professional challenge lies in interpreting and applying these regulations to a dynamic technological environment, where the definition of necessary access can be subjective and subject to evolving threats and compliance interpretations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a risk-based methodology aligned with regulatory requirements. By conducting a thorough assessment of data sensitivity and potential threats, and then implementing granular access controls based on the principle of least privilege, the deployment team ensures compliance with HIPAA security and privacy rules. This approach minimizes the attack surface, protects protected health information, (PHI), and demonstrates due diligence in safeguarding sensitive data. It also fosters a culture of security awareness by making access a deliberate and justified process. An incorrect approach that involves granting broad access to all customer data for all agents would be a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This directly violates HIPAA requirements for safeguarding PHI, increasing the risk of unauthorized disclosure and breaches. It also fails to adhere to the principle of least privilege, a cornerstone of effective security and compliance. Another incorrect approach, which delays the implementation of necessary security controls due to perceived operational impact, is also professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a disregard for regulatory obligations and exposes the organization to substantial legal and financial penalties, as well as reputational damage. It prioritizes short-term convenience over long-term compliance and security. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a clear understanding of applicable regulations, in this case, U.S. HIPAA. This involves identifying the specific data types being handled and their associated sensitivity levels. Next, a risk assessment should be performed to understand potential threats and vulnerabilities. Based on this assessment, A security architecture should be designed that incorporates layered security controls, including robust authentication, authorization, and auditing mechanisms. The principle of least privilege should guide all access control decisions. Finally, ongoing monitoring, regular audits, and periodic reassessments of security controls are crucial to maintain compliance and adapt to evolving threats and regulatory guidance. Question 5. Upon reviewing the initial design for Cisco Unified Contact Center Express routing, a key stakeholder expresses concern that the proposed configuration might not adequately address the varying urgency of customer inquiries. Specifically, they are worried that a customer with a critical service issue could be placed in the same queue as a customer with a routine information request, potentially leading to extended wait times for the critical inquiry. Which of the following approaches best addresses this stakeholder's concern and aligns with professional best practices for contact center deployment? Option A. Configure the system to route all incoming calls to the next available agent in a first-in, first-out, FIFO manner, regardless of the nature of the inquiry. Option B. Implement skills-based routing and priority queuing within UCX to categorize and route customer interactions based on their defined urgency and the specialized skills of available agents. Option C. Prioritize routing based on the order in which agents log into the system, ensuring that agents who have been logged in longer receive calls first. Option D. Optimize the routing logic to minimize agent idle time, pushing every available interaction to any agent who is not currently engaged in a call. The correct answer is B. Implement skills-based routing and priority queuing within UCX to categorize and route customer interactions based on their defined urgency and the specialized skills of available agents. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments where the technical implementation of a feature, specifically the routing of customer interactions, directly impacts the customer experience and potentially compliance with service-level agreements, SLAs. The challenge lies in balancing the desire for efficient resource utilization with the customer's expectation of timely and appropriate service. Misinterpreting or inadequately addressing stakeholder requirements can lead to suboptimal system performance, customer dissatisfaction, and potential contractual breaches. The pressure to deliver a functional system quickly can sometimes overshadow the need for thorough validation against business objectives and customer needs. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding of the business requirements for customer interaction routing and validating that the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX configuration accurately reflects these needs. This means engaging with business stakeholders, understanding their definition of priority for different customer segments or interaction types, and ensuring the routing logic in UCX e.g. using skills-based routing, priority queues, or agent assignment based on specific criteria, directly supports these defined priorities. This approach ensures that the system is not just technically functional, but also strategically aligned with business goals, leading to improved customer satisfaction and adherence to SLAs. It demonstrates a commitment to delivering value beyond mere technical deployment. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing routing based solely on agent availability without considering customer priority or interaction type is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This can lead to a breach of service-level agreements, SLAs, if certain customer segments are consistently experiencing longer wait times than stipulated. From a regulatory perspective, if the contact center handles sensitive information or is subject to specific industry regulations, e.g., financial services, healthcare, failing to prioritize certain interactions could have legal ramifications. Ethically, it is unfair to consistently deprioritize certain customers, leading to a poor experience and potential loss of business. Configuring routing based on the order in which agents log in, without any regard for customer needs or interaction complexity, is another failure. This approach is arbitrary and does not align with any business objective related to customer service quality or efficiency. It can lead to highly skilled agents handling low-priority calls, while less experienced agents are overwhelmed with complex issues, resulting in poor first-call resolution rates and increased customer frustration. This lack of strategic routing is professionally unacceptable as it disregards the core purpose of a contact center: to serve customers effectively, focusing exclusively on minimizing agent idle time, without considering the impact on customer wait times or the complexity of interactions is also problematic. While agent utilization is important for cost efficiency, it should not come at the expense of customer service. If the system is configured to push every available interaction to any agent simply to keep them busy, it can lead to agents being overloaded with calls they are not best equipped to handle, or customers being routed to agents who are not the most appropriate for their specific issue. This can result in longer overall resolution times and a degraded customer experience, potentially violating implicit or explicit service promises. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a requirements-driven approach. This involves a deep dive into business needs, understanding customer segmentation, defining service-level objectives for each segment, and then translating these into technical configurations within UCX. Regular communication with stakeholders, including business users and potentially compliance officers, is crucial. Before deployment, rigorous testing that simulates real-world scenarios and measures adherence to defined priorities and SLAs is essential. Post-deployment monitoring and iterative refinement based on performance data and stakeholder feedback are also key components of professional practice. Question 6. During the evaluation of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express deployment options for a financial services organization, which of the following approaches for distributing incoming customer inquiries would best align with the need for specialized agent expertise and regulatory compliance, while also optimizing customer experience? Option A. Utilizing a longitudinal agent distribution method to ensure all agents receive an equitable distribution of incoming calls. Option B. Implementing a skill-based routing strategy that directs calls to agents with specific certifications and knowledge relevant to the customer's stated need. Option C. Prioritizing inbound calls based on a simple sequential order of their arrival in the queue. Option D. Employing a round-robin distribution to evenly spread the workload across all available agents regardless of their specialization. The correct answer is B. Implementing a skill-based routing strategy that directs calls to agents with specific certifications and knowledge relevant to the customer's stated need. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge in selecting the most appropriate method for distributing incoming customer interactions within a Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX environment. The challenge lies in balancing efficiency, customer satisfaction, and adherence to potential regulatory or business-specific requirements for handling different types of inquiries. A poorly chosen distribution method can lead to increased wait times, agent dissatisfaction, and a negative customer experience, potentially impacting service-level agreements, SLAs, and business reputation. The need for careful judgment arises from understanding the nuances of each distribution strategy and how they align with the contact center's objectives and the nature of the customer interactions. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves implementing a skill-based routing strategy. This method aligns best with professional practice because it prioritizes matching customer inquiries with agents possessing the most relevant expertise. In a regulated environment, this is crucial for ensuring accurate information is provided, compliance requirements are met, and complex issues are resolved efficiently. Skill-based routing directly contributes to improved first contact resolution rates, reduced handling times for specialized queries, and enhanced customer satisfaction by connecting them to the most qualified agent quickly. This approach is professionally sound as it optimizes resource utilization and service quality, which are often implicitly or explicitly mandated by business objectives and customer service standards. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to solely rely on a longitudinal agent distribution. This method, while simple, fails to consider the complexity or nature of the incoming call. It can lead to a highly skilled agent being assigned a simple query, while a less experienced agent is burdened with a complex one, resulting in inefficiencies and potential errors. From a regulatory or ethical standpoint, if certain inquiries require specialized knowledge to ensure compliance, e.g., financial advice, healthcare information, assigning them to an unqualified agent could lead to breaches of regulations, misrepresentation, or harm to the customer, which is professionally unacceptable. Another incorrect approach is to use a round-robin distribution for all call types. Similar to longitudinal, this method ignores the critical factor of agent skill and the specific requirements of the customer's inquiry. For sensitive or technical issues, a round-robin approach can result in prolonged handling times, repeated transfers, and customer frustration, as the agent may not have the necessary knowledge. This can lead to a failure to meet service-level objectives, and in regulated industries could result in noncompliance if accurate and expert handling is a requirement. A third incorrect approach is to prioritize inbound calls based solely on caller ID or a predefined list, without considering the actual reason for the call or agent availability/skills. This can lead to a situation where high-priority customers are routed to agents who are not equipped to handle their specific needs, or conversely, less urgent calls are prioritized over critical ones that require immediate specialized attention. This arbitrary prioritization can lead to operational inefficiencies and a breakdown in effective customer service delivery, potentially violating implicit service-level agreements or customer trust. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making process that begins with a thorough understanding of the contact center's business objectives, customer demographics, and the types of inquiries received. This should be followed by an assessment of available routing strategies within UCX, considering their technical capabilities and impact on key performance indicators, KPI, such as average handle time, first contact resolution, and customer satisfaction. The chosen strategy must then be evaluated against any relevant industry regulations or internal policies that dictate how specific types of customer interactions must be handled. A phased implementation and continuous monitoring of performance metrics are essential to ensure the chosen routing method remains effective and compliant. Question 7. Examination of the data shows that the organization is deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Express to handle customer interactions that involve sensitive personal information. The primary regulatory framework for this deployment mandates strict controls over data access, retention, and audit logging to protect customer privacy. Which of the following deployment strategies best aligns with these regulatory requirements? Option A. Prioritize minimizing storage costs by disabling detailed audit logging for non-critical interactions and implementing broad access permissions for supervisors to facilitate quicker issue resolution. Option B. Deploy UCX with the default security setting to ensure rapid implementation and operational efficiency, and address any specific regulatory concerns only if they are explicitly raised by the compliance department. Option C. Focus on maximizing agent productivity by integrating UCX with external marketing databases without implementing robust data masking or anonymization techniques for the data being transferred. Option D. Configure UCX with granular access controls for all user roles, implement a comprehensive audit trail for all data access and modifications, and establish data retention policies that comply with the regulatory framework, including secure deletion of data after the mandated period. The correct answer is D. Configure UCX with granular access controls for all user roles, implement a comprehensive audit trail for all data access and modifications, and establish data retention policies that comply with the regulatory framework, including secure deletion of data after the mandated period. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments, balancing the need for efficient data handling with stringent data privacy regulations. The core of the challenge lies in understanding how Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX stores and processes sensitive customer information, and how these processes align with the specific regulatory framework governing the exam's jurisdiction. Professionals must navigate the technical capabilities of UCX while adhering to legal mandates regarding data retention, access, and security. The correct approach prioritizes compliance with the specified regulatory framework by ensuring that all data handling within UCX is configured to meet or exceed the mandated privacy and security standards. This involves a thorough understanding of UCX data storage mechanisms, auditing capabilities, and access control features, and then configuring them in a manner that is demonstrably compliant. Best professional practice dictates a proactive, risk-averse stance where compliance is a foundational element of the design and implementation, not an afterthought. This approach minimizes legal exposure and builds trust with customers by demonstrating a commitment to protecting their data. An incorrect approach that fails to adequately consider the regulatory framework would be to prioritize only operational efficiency or cost savings without a corresponding assessment of compliance implications. For instance, disabling detailed audit logging to reduce storage overhead or implementing broad access controls that grant more permissions than strictly necessary would represent significant regulatory and ethical failures. Such actions could lead to violations of data privacy laws, resulting in substantial fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer confidence. Furthermore, failing to implement appropriate data anonymization or pseudonymization techniques where required by regulation would also be a critical failure, exposing sensitive data unnecessarily. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk assessment that explicitly incorporates regulatory requirements. This includes identifying all applicable regulations, understanding their specific mandates related to data handling in contact centers, mapping these mandates to the functionalities of UCEX, designing the solution with compliance as a primary objective, and conducting thorough testing and validation to confirm adherence to all regulatory obligations. Continuous monitoring and periodic reviews are also essential to adapt to evolving regulations and system changes. Question 8. Performance analysis shows that the current Cisco Unified Contact Center Express deployment is experiencing challenges in effectively managing customer interaction data for compliance and analytics purposes, particularly concerning the handling of personally identifiable information, PI, under U.S. federal and state privacy laws. Proposal has been made to integrate a third-party solution for advanced call recording and sentiment analysis. Which of the following approaches best ensures compliance with U.S. regulatory frameworks and upholds professional ethical standards? Option A. Implement the third-party solution to capture all available customer data for immediate in-depth analytics, deferring the development of specific data retention and anonymization policies until after deployment. Option B. Proceed with the integration of the third-party solution, relying on the vendor's assurance of compliance without conducting an independent audit of their data privacy and security practices. Option C. Select a third-party vendor based primarily on the lowest cost and fastest integration timeline, assuming their solution meets general industry standards for data handling. Option D. Prioritize a third-party vendor that provides a comprehensive audit trail of data processing activities, offers robust data anonymization capabilities, and can demonstrate explicit compliance with relevant U.S. privacy regulations like CCPA, even if it involves a slightly higher initial investment or longer integration period. The correct answer is C. Select a third-party vendor based primarily on the lowest cost and fastest integration timeline, assuming their solution meets general industry standards for data handling. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments where technical capabilities must align with business objectives and regulatory compliance. The challenge lies in balancing the desire for immediate cost savings and operational efficiency with the long-term implications of data privacy and customer trust, especially within the stringent regulatory environment governing customer data in the U.S. Misinterpreting or overlooking specific compliance requirements can lead to significant legal penalties, reputational damage, and loss of customer confidence. The pressure to deliver a solution quickly can sometimes overshadow the need for thorough due diligence regarding data handling and security. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes adherence to U.S. data privacy regulations, such as the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, and potentially HIPAA if health-related data is involved, by ensuring that any third-party integration for call recording and analytics is fully compliant. This involves a detailed review of the vendor's data handling policies, security certifications e.g., SOC 2, and their ability to support data subject rights like access and deletion requests, as mandated by U.S. law. Implementing a solution that demonstrably meets these requirements builds trust with customers and avoids legal repercussions. This approach reflects best professional practice by embedding compliance into the design and selection process, rather than treating it as an afterthought. It ensures the deployed Cisco Unified Contact Center Express environment operates within legal boundaries, safeguarding sensitive customer information and maintaining the organization's integrity. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves prioritizing a vendor solely based on the lowest cost and fastest deployment time without a thorough compliance audit. This fails to meet U.S. regulatory obligations, as it risks using a solution that may not adequately protect customer data or facilitate compliance with data subject rights. Such a choice could lead to violations of CCPA or other relevant privacy laws, resulting in substantial fines and legal action. Another incorrect approach is to assume that a vendor's general statement of compliance is sufficient without independent verification. This overlooks the specific nuances of U.S. data privacy laws and the organization's particular data processing activities. It creates a false sense of security and leaves the organization vulnerable to noncompliance if the vendor's interpretation or implementation of compliance differs from legal requirements. A third incorrect approach is to implement a solution that captures extensive customer data for analytics without a clear, legally compliant data retention and anonymization policy. This can lead to the unnecessary accumulation of sensitive personal information, increasing the risk of data breaches and violating principles of data minimization and purpose limitation, which are implicitly or explicitly part of U.S. data protection frameworks. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based approach to technology selection and deployment. This involves 1. Identifying all applicable U.S. regulatory frameworks, e.g., CCPA, HIPAA, FTC guidelines, relevant to the type of customer data being handled. 2. Conducting thorough due diligence on all third-party vendors, focusing on their data security practices, privacy policies, and demonstrated ability to comply with specific U.S. regulations. 3. Integrating compliance requirements into the request for proposal RFP and vendor selection criteria. 4. Seeking legal counsel to review vendor contracts and ensure they adequately address data protection and liability. 5. Establishing clear internal policies and procedures for data handling, retention, and anonymization that align with legal mandates. 6. Regularly auditing deployed solutions and vendor practices to ensure ongoing compliance. Question 9. Compliance review shows that a new feature in Cisco Unified Contact Center Express requires the recording of customer interactions. The business team is pushing for a quick deployment to enable this feature, but the IT security and compliance team has raised concerns about how these recordings will be stored and protected to meet regulatory requirements. Which approach best balances the need for rapid deployment with robust data privacy and security? Option A. Implement a custom scripting solution to manage recording files, storing them in a readily accessible network share to facilitate quick retrieval by authorized personnel. Option B. Enable recording directly through the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express Agent desktop application without configuring any specific security or storage policies. Option C. Deploy a third-party recording management tool that is not specifically certified for compliance with relevant data protection laws, prioritizing its ease of integration. Option D. Configure Cisco Unified Contact Center Express to utilize its native, secure recording capabilities, ensuring appropriate encryption and access controls are implemented according to data privacy regulations. Correct answer is D. Configure Cisco Unified Contact Center Express to utilize its native, secure recording capabilities, ensuring appropriate encryption and access controls are implemented according to data privacy regulations. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments where the need for rapid feature deployment clashes with the imperative of ensuring data privacy and security, particularly concerning customer interaction recordings. The pressure to meet business objectives by enabling a new feature while simultaneously adhering to data handling regulations requires a nuanced approach that balances functionality with compliance. The professional challenge lies in identifying the most robust and compliant method for managing sensitive data within the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX environment, ensuring that the chosen solution not only meets technical requirements, but also upholds legal and ethical obligations regarding customer data. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves leveraging the built-in, secure recording capabilities of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express that are designed with compliance in mind. This typically means configuring the system to store recordings in a secure, encrypted location, with access controls aligned with the principle of least privilege. This method directly addresses regulatory requirements by ensuring that data is handled in a manner that protects its confidentiality and integrity. For instance, in the U.S., regulations like HIPAA for healthcare data or PCI DSS for payment card data mandate specific security controls for sensitive information, including encryption and access logging. By using the native secure recording features, the deployment aligns with these frameworks, minimizing the risk of data breaches and unauthorized access, and demonstrating due diligence in protecting customer information. This approach is best professional practice because it utilizes the intended, secure functionality of the platform, reducing the likelihood of misconfiguration or security vulnerabilities that could arise from custom or less secure solutions. Incorrect approach is analysis. Storing recordings in an unencrypted, easily accessible network share without proper access controls is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This directly violates data privacy principles and likely contravenes regulations such as GDPR, if applicable to the customer base, or state-specific data breach notification laws, which require reasonable security measures to protect personal data. It exposes sensitive customer interactions to unauthorized access, increasing the risk of data breaches and subsequent legal penalties, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Implementing a custom script to manage recordings that bypasses the UCIC's native security features introduces a high degree of risk. Custom solutions are more prone to coding errors, security vulnerabilities, and may not adequately address the complex requirements of data encryption, access logging, and retention policies mandated by various regulations. This approach fails to demonstrate due diligence in selecting a secure and compliant solution, potentially leading to non-compliance with data protection laws and ethical breaches by not adequately safeguarding customer data. Using a third-party tool that is not certified or validated for secure data handling within a regulated environment is also professionally unacceptable. Without proper vetting, the security posture and compliance adherence of such a tool are unknown. This could result in the tool itself becoming a point of vulnerability, failing to meet encryption standards, or not providing the necessary audit trails required by regulators. It represents a failure to conduct proper due diligence in selecting technology that handles sensitive customer data. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based decision-making framework. When faced with a choice between native, secure features and custom or third-party solutions, the default should always be the native, compliant option unless there is a compelling, well-documented, and thoroughly risk-assessed reason to deviate. This involves 1. Understanding the specific regulatory requirements applicable to the data being handled. 2. Evaluating the security and compliance features of the proposed solution against these requirements. 3. Prioritizing solutions that offer built-in security controls, encryption, and auditability. 4. Conducting thorough risk assessments for any deviation from standard, compliant practices. 5. Documenting all decisions and justifications, especially when opting for less secure or non-standard methods. Question 10. Analysis of the appropriate access control configuration for a newly appointed supervisor in a Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCIC environment, considering the need for effective performance monitoring and adherence to data privacy regulations, leads to the following scenario. The supervisor requires the ability to review agent call recordings for quality assurance purposes and access performance reports, but should not have the capability to view or modify personally identifiable information, PI, of customers beyond what is essential for call context. Which approach best balances these requirements? Option A. Configure the supervisor's role with granular permissions that allow access to call recording playback and performance reporting tools, while explicitly restricting access to PII fields within the UCIC interface. Option B. Grant the supervisor full administrative access to the UCIC system to ensure they have all necessary tools for comprehensive oversight. Option C. Assign the supervisor access to all historical call data and real-time agent status dashboards, but prevent them from accessing any call recording content. Option D. Provide the supervisor with access to agent performance metrics and historical interaction logs, but exclude them from listening to call recordings. The correct answer is A. Configure the supervisor's role with granular permissions that allow access to call recording playback and performance reporting tools, while explicitly restricting access to PII fields within the UCIC interface. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge in balancing the need for efficient customer service with the regulatory requirement for data privacy and security within a Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCIC deployment. The challenge lies in determining the appropriate level of access for a new supervisor, ensuring they can perform their duties effectively without inadvertently violating data protection regulations. This requires a nuanced understanding of roles, responsibilities, and the potential risks associated with granting broad access to sensitive customer interaction data. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a principle of least privilege, granting the new supervisor access only to the specific data and functionalities necessary for their role. This aligns with best practices in data security and privacy, which are often underpinned by regulatory frameworks like GDPR, if the jurisdiction were EU or similar data protection laws in other regions. In the context of UCX, this means configuring roles and permissions to allow the supervisor to monitor agent performance, review call recordings for quality assurance, and access relevant reports, but not to view or modify personally identifiable information, PI, beyond what is strictly required for their oversight functions. This approach minimizes the risk of accidental data breaches or unauthorized access, thereby upholding regulatory compliance and maintaining customer trust. Incorrect approach is analysis. Granting the supervisor full administrative access to all UCX data and functionalities is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach violates the principle of least privilege and exposes sensitive customer data to unnecessary risk. Such broad access could lead to accidental disclosure of PII, unauthorized modification of data, or even intentional misuse, all of which would constitute serious breaches of data protection laws and erode customer confidence. Providing the supervisor with access to only agent performance metrics without any ability to review call recordings or interaction details limits their effectiveness in quality assurance and coaching. While this approach prioritizes data privacy by restricting access to sensitive content, it fails to equip the supervisor with the necessary tools to perform their core responsibilities, potentially leading to suboptimal service quality and hindering the overall effectiveness of the contact center operations. This could indirectly lead to compliance issues if service quality deteriorates to a point where it breaches service-level agreements or other contractual obligations. Allowing access to all historical call data, but restricting access to real-time monitoring capabilities creates an imbalance. While historical data might be necessary for trend analysis and reporting, the inability to monitor live interactions prevents timely intervention and coaching, which are crucial for immediate service improvements and issue resolution. This oversight could lead to missed opportunities to address customer dissatisfaction in real time, potentially impacting customer experience and, in some regulated industries, service-level compliance. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based decision-making framework when configuring access controls in UCX. This involves 1. Identifying sensitive data and critical functionalities within the UCX system. 2. Defining the specific roles and responsibilities of each user, particularly new supervisors. 3. Mapping these roles to the minimum necessary access privileges required to perform their duties effectively, adhering to the principle of least privilege. 4. Implementing and regularly reviewing these access controls to ensure ongoing compliance with relevant data protection regulations and internal security policies. 5. Documenting all access configurations and justifications. Question 11. The control framework reveals that when deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Express for a US-based healthcare organization, which of the following configuration strategies best aligns with the regulatory requirements for protecting protected health information? 5. Option A. Implementing end-to-end encryption for all call recordings and agent screen captures, coupled with granular access controls and regular audit logging of system access. Option B. Disabling call recording features entirely to eliminate any risk of PHI exposure, even if it impacts service quality and compliance monitoring capabilities. Option C. Storing all call recordings indefinitely without a defined retention policy or secure data sanitization procedures. Option D. Relying primarily on agent training to ensure PHI is not discussed inappropriately during customer interactions, with minimal technical controls on recording features. The correct answer is A. Implementing end-to-end encryption for all call recordings and agent screen captures, coupled with granular access controls and regular audit logging of system access. Explanation. The control framework reveals that implementing Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX involves managing sensitive customer data, which necessitates strict adherence to data privacy regulations. In the United States, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, is paramount when dealing with protected health information. A professionally challenging scenario arises when a healthcare provider deploys UCX and must ensure that all call recordings, agent screen captures, and stored customer interactions comply with HIPAA security rule, which mandates administrative, physical, and technical safeguards to protect electronic PHI. The core challenge lies in configuring UCX features like call recording, agent desktop integration, and data storage to prevent unauthorized access, disclosure, or alteration of PHI, while still enabling efficient customer service operations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive risk assessment and the implementation of specific technical and administrative safeguards mandated by HIPAA. This involves encrypting data at rest and in transit, implementing robust access controls, regularly auditing system logs for suspicious activity, and ensuring that all third-party integrations, if any, are also HIPAA compliant. This proactive and layered security strategy directly addresses the regulatory requirements and ethical obligation to protect patient privacy, thereby mitigating the risk of breaches and associated legal penalties. An incorrect approach that fails to implement end-to-end encryption for call recordings and agent screen captures would be professionally unacceptable. This failure directly violates HIPAA security rule, which requires technical safeguards to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of electronic PHI. Such a lapse could lead to unauthorized disclosure of sensitive patient information, resulting in significant fines, reputational damage, and loss of patient trust. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on agent discretion to avoid discussing PHI during calls without any technical controls or monitoring, is also professionally unacceptable. While agent training is important, it is not a substitute for technical safeguards. HIPAA requires that systems themselves be designed to protect PHI. This approach leaves the organization vulnerable to human error or intentional breaches, and it fails to meet the minimum necessary standard for accessing and disclosing PHI. A third incorrect approach, which involves storing all call recordings indefinitely without a defined retention policy or regular data sanitization, would also be professionally unacceptable. While not a direct violation of a specific HIPAA safeguard, it creates an unnecessary risk. Storing data longer than required increases the attack surface and the potential impact of a breach. Best practices, often informed by regulatory guidance and industry standards, advocate for data minimization and secure disposal of information when it is no longer needed for business or legal purposes. The professional reasoning framework for decision-making in such situations should involve a thorough understanding of applicable regulations. In this case, HIPAA, a comprehensive risk assessment of the UCX deployment, and the selection of technical and administrative controls that directly mitigate identified risks. This process should be iterative, involving regular reviews and updates to security measures as threats evolve and regulations are updated. Prioritizing patient privacy and data security, even when it presents implementation challenges, is the cornerstone of ethical and professional conduct in healthcare IT. Question 12. The assessment process reveals that a newly deployed Cisco Unified Contact Center Express solution is handling a significant volume of sensitive customer financial and health information. The deployment team is tasked with configuring agent access to this data to facilitate efficient customer service. Which of the following configuration approaches best balances operational efficiency with regulatory compliance and data privacy best practices? Option A. Grant all agents full read and write access to all customer data fields within the UCX database to ensure they have complete context for every interaction. Option B. Store all sensitive customer financial and health information in plain text within the UCX database and rely solely on agent awareness training to prevent unauthorized access. Option C. Configure the system to allow agents to access all customer data, but disable all logging of data access events to simplify system management. Option D. Implement granular, role-based access control (RBAC) for agents, ensuring they can only access the specific data fields necessary for their job functions, and utilize data masking techniques for highly sensitive information where full visibility is not required for service delivery. The correct answer is D. Implement granular role-based access control (RBAC) for agents, ensuring they can only access the specific data fields necessary for their job functions, and utilize data masking techniques for highly sensitive information where full visibility is not required for service delivery. Explanation: the assessment process reveals a common challenge in deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) solutions, ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations while enabling effective customer service. Specifically, the scenario involves handling sensitive customer information within the contact center environment. The professional challenge lies in balancing the need for data accessibility for agents to provide personalized service against the imperative to protect customer privacy and adhere to regulatory mandates. This requires a nuanced understanding of data handling policies and technical controls. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a layered security strategy that aligns with data protection principles. By implementing role-based access control, RBAC, and data masking techniques, the solution ensures that only authorized personnel can access specific sensitive data, and even then, only in a de-identified or masked format where appropriate. This directly addresses the core tenets of data minimization and purpose limitation, fundamental to regulations like the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, or similar frameworks governing data privacy. It demonstrates a proactive commitment to safeguarding customer information, building trust, and avoiding potential legal and reputational damage. An incorrect approach that involves granting broad access to all customer data to all agents fails to implement necessary data protection measures. This directly violates the principle of least privilege and data minimization, increasing the risk of unauthorized disclosure or misuse of sensitive information. Such an approach would be a significant regulatory failure, exposing the organization to substantial fines and legal repercussions under data privacy laws. Another incorrect approach, which involves storing all sensitive customer data in an unencrypted format within the UCX database, presents a severe security vulnerability. In the event of a data breach, this unencrypted data would be immediately compromised, leading to a direct violation of data protection regulations that mandate appropriate technical and organizational measures to ensure data security. This represents a critical ethical and regulatory failure. Finally, an approach that relies solely on agent training without implementing technical controls for data access and masking is insufficient. While training is important, it does not provide a robust safeguard against accidental or intentional data breaches. Regulations typically require technical controls to enforce data protection policies, making this approach professionally inadequate and a potential regulatory oversight. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough risk assessment of data handling within the UCX environment. This includes identifying all types of sensitive data, understanding regulatory requirements, and then designing and implementing technical and procedural controls that align with these requirements. A framework of privacy by design and security by design should be adopted, ensuring that data protection is integrated into the solution from its inception. Regular audits and reviews of access logs and data handling practices are also crucial to maintain ongoing compliance. Question 13. Research into the deployment of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express for a financial services organization reveals a need to route customer inquiries based on account type. However, the organization handles highly sensitive financial data, necessitating strict adherence to U.S. data privacy regulations. Which of the following approaches best balances efficient call routing with the imperative to protect customer personally identifiable information, PI? Option A. Configure UCX to route calls based on account type, but bypass any data masking or access control mechanisms to ensure agents have immediate access to all customer information for faster resolution. Option B. Prioritize routing efficiency by implementing a complex, multi-level IVR that collects extensive personal details upfront before routing, without specific PII masking features in the agent interface. Option C. Route all customer calls directly to a general queue, relying solely on agent training to handle sensitive financial data appropriately without any technical controls within the UCX. Option D. Implement a routing strategy that categorizes calls based on account type and directs them to specialized agent queues, with integrated data masking within the UCX agent desktop to obscure sensitive PII fields unless explicitly required for the agent's role. The correct answer is D. Implement a routing strategy that categorizes calls based on account type and directs them to specialized agent queues, with integrated data masking within the UCX agent desktop to obscure sensitive PII fields unless explicitly required for the agent's role. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments, balancing the need for efficient call routing with the regulatory requirements for data privacy and security, specifically concerning personally identifiable information, PI. The challenge lies in ensuring that the chosen routing strategy, while optimizing customer experience and operational efficiency, does not inadvertently expose sensitive customer data to unauthorized access or violate data handling regulations. Careful judgment is required to select a solution that is both technically sound and compliant. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes compliance with data privacy regulations, such as those governed by the relevant U.S. frameworks, e.g., HIPAA for healthcare-related data, or general data protection principles applicable to customer interactions. By implementing robust access controls and data masking techniques within the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) solution, the deployment ensures that only authorized personnel can access sensitive PII. This proactive measure mitigates the risk of data breaches and aligns with the ethical obligation to protect customer information. It demonstrates a commitment to responsible technology deployment and builds trust with customers. An incorrect approach that involves routing calls directly to agents without any form of data sanitization or access control for sensitive information would be a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This could lead to inadvertent disclosure of PII, violating data privacy laws and potentially resulting in severe penalties, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Another incorrect approach, such as implementing overly restrictive routing that significantly degrades customer experience and increases wait times, while not directly a regulatory violation, could be considered professionally negligent if it leads to customer dissatisfaction and potential abandonment of services, indirectly impacting business operations and potentially leading to complaints that could trigger regulatory scrutiny. A third incorrect approach, focusing solely on cost reduction without considering compliance, would fail to meet the fundamental requirements of a secure and lawful contact center operation. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of all applicable regulatory requirements for data handling and privacy. This should be followed by an assessment of the technical capabilities of the Cisco UCX solution and how they can be leveraged to meet these requirements. The process involves identifying potential risks associated with different routing strategies, evaluating the impact of these risks on data security and customer privacy, and selecting the solution that offers the best balance between operational efficiency and regulatory compliance. Continuous monitoring and auditing of the implemented solution are also crucial to ensure ongoing adherence to regulations. Question 14. The efficiency study reveals that a new Cisco Unified Contact Center Express feature could significantly improve agent productivity, but it also highlights a potential risk of increased call handling times for a specific customer segment if not configured precisely. What is the most professionally responsible approach to deploying this feature? Option A. Postpone the deployment indefinitely until a perfect configuration that guarantees zero risk for all customer segments can be achieved. Option B. Deploy the feature only to agents who handle the specific customer segment identified as at risk, assuming other segments will not be affected. Option C. Implement the feature across all agents immediately, relying on the vendor's assurance of minimal impact and addressing any issues as they arise. Option D. Conduct a pilot deployment of the feature to a small, diverse group of agents, closely monitoring key performance indicators and customer feedback, with a predefined rollback plan in place. The correct answer is C. Implement the feature across all agents immediately, relying on the vendor's assurance of minimal impact and addressing any issues as they arise. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments where a new feature, while offering potential benefits, introduces a significant risk of impacting existing service level agreements, SLAs, and customer experience. The core challenge lies in balancing innovation and operational stability. The pressure to adopt new technologies quickly can conflict with the need for thorough testing and risk mitigation, especially when customer-facing services are involved. The professional challenge is to make a data-driven decision that prioritizes customer satisfaction and regulatory compliance over immediate feature adoption. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a phased rollout with comprehensive monitoring and a clear rollback plan. This aligns with best practices for deploying new technologies in regulated environments. By starting with a pilot group, the organization can gather real-world performance data without jeopardizing the entire customer base. The continuous monitoring of key performance indicators, KPI, and adherence to SLAs ensures that any negative impact is identified early. The predefined rollback plan provides a safety net, allowing for swift remediation if issues arise. This approach demonstrates a commitment to customer service, operational integrity, and a responsible deployment strategy, which are implicitly expected under general business conduct and customer protection guidelines, even without specific UCX regulations dictating this exact process. It minimizes risk and ensures that the deployment adheres to established service standards. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing the feature across all agents immediately without prior testing or monitoring is professionally unacceptable because it disregards the potential for widespread service disruption. This could lead to a failure to meet contractual SLAs, resulting in financial penalties and reputational damage. It also violates the ethical obligation to provide a consistent and reliable customer experience. Deploying the feature only to a small, non-representative subset of agents, and then assuming it will perform identically for all is also professionally unsound. This approach fails to account for the diverse customer interactions and agent skill sets that exist across the entire contact center. A limited pilot may not uncover issues that would arise with a broader deployment, leading to unexpected failures and a breach of service commitments. Ignoring the efficiency study's findings and proceeding with the full deployment based on anecdotal evidence or vendor promises is a direct abdication of professional responsibility. This approach prioritizes expediency over due diligence and risks significant operational and customer-facing failures, potentially leading to regulatory scrutiny if service levels are demonstrably impacted. It demonstrates a lack of critical thinking and a failure to adhere to sound project management principles. Professional reasoning. Professionals facing such decisions should employ a structured risk management framework. This involves 1. Understanding the potential benefits and risks of the proposed change. 2. Assessing the impact on existing service levels, customer experience, and any relevant compliance requirements. 3. Developing a phased deployment strategy that includes pilot testing, comprehensive monitoring, and a robust rollback plan. 4. Establishing clear success criteria for each phase of the deployment. 5. Ensuring all stakeholders are informed and aligned on the deployment plan and potential risks. 6. Prioritizing customer experience and operational stability over rapid adoption when significant risks are identified. Question 15. Quality control measures reveal that a proposed enhancement to the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express, designed to introduce AI-powered sentiment analysis for real-time agent feedback, has not undergone a comprehensive impact assessment. This assessment should have evaluated its potential effects on existing call routing logic, agent training requirements, data privacy protocols, and overall customer experience within the context of U.S. federal and state telecommunications and data protection regulations. Which of the following actions represents the most professionally responsible and compliant next step? Option A. Conduct a thorough impact assessment that includes technical validation, operational workflow analysis, agent feedback mechanisms, and a review against relevant U.S. regulatory frameworks before authorizing any deployment. Option B. Immediately proceed with the deployment of the AI sentiment analysis feature to leverage its perceived benefits and address any issues that arise post-implementation through reactive measures. Option C. Prioritize the deployment of the AI sentiment analysis feature based on its perceived technical sophistication, assuming that any regulatory or operational concerns will be minor and manageable by the IT department. Option D. Deploy the feature to a small, isolated pilot group of agents and monitor their performance and feedback informally to gauge its effectiveness and identify immediate problems. The correct answer is B. Immediately proceed with the deployment of the AI sentiment analysis feature to leverage its perceived benefits and address any issues that arise post-implementation through reactive measures. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments, where the impact of a new feature on existing operational processes and user experience needs to be thoroughly assessed before full implementation. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire for innovation and improved functionality with the need to maintain service continuity, compliance, and customer satisfaction. A hasty rollout without proper impact assessment can lead to unforeseen disruptions, increased support costs, and potential breaches of service-level agreements, SLAs, which in turn could have regulatory implications if customer data or privacy is compromised. The correct approach involves a structured and comprehensive impact assessment that considers all facets of the deployment. This includes technical feasibility, integration with existing systems, potential effects on agent workflows, customer experience, and importantly, adherence to relevant U.S. regulations such as those pertaining to data privacy, e.g., HIPAA for healthcare-related contact centers, or general consumer data protection principles, and telecommunications standards. A thorough assessment ensures that potential risks are identified and mitigated, and that the new feature aligns with business objectives and regulatory requirements. This proactive stance is best professional practice as it minimizes disruption, ensures compliance, and maximizes the likelihood of successful adoption and benefit realization. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with deployment without a formal impact assessment. This demonstrates a failure to adhere to due diligence and risk management principles. Specifically, it could lead to regulatory failures if the new feature inadvertently exposes sensitive customer data, violates telecommunications laws regarding call recording or consent, or fails to meet accessibility standards mandated by U.S. law. Another incorrect approach is to focus solely on the technical aspects of the new feature, neglecting the operational and user experience impacts. This can result in agent frustration, decreased efficiency, and a negative customer perception, potentially leading to complaints that could trigger regulatory scrutiny. Finally, relying on anecdotal feedback or informal testing without a systematic assessment is also professionally unsound, as it lacks the rigor required to identify and address all potential issues, thereby increasing the risk of non-compliance and operational failure. The professional decision-making process for such situations should involve a phased approach. First, define the scope and objectives of the impact assessment. Second, identify all stakeholders and potential impacts: technical, operational, financial, regulatory, customer. Third, gather data through testing, simulations, and expert consultation. Fourth, analyze the findings to identify risks and opportunities. And fifth, develop mitigation strategies and a go/no-go decision based on the assessment results. This systematic process ensures that all critical factors are considered, leading to informed decisions that prioritize both business value and regulatory compliance. Question 16. Which approach would be most effective in ensuring that a Cisco Unified Contact Center Express deployment remains compliant with new data privacy regulations, considering the potential impact on call recording, data storage, and agent access controls? Option A. Implement a broad set of system-wide changes to UCX to preemptively address potential compliance concerns across all modules. Option B. Assume existing UCX configurations are sufficient and continue operations without any changes until specific compliance issues are flagged. Option C. Focus solely on updating technical configurations within UCX without evaluating the broader business and legal implications of the new regulations. Option D. Conduct a thorough impact assessment of the new regulations on all relevant UCX functionalities and configuration, followed by a targeted remediation plan. The correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough impact assessment of the new regulations on all relevant UCX functionalities and configurations, followed by a targeted remediation plan. Explanation: this scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments, balancing the need for robust functionality with the imperative to comply with evolving data privacy regulations. The professional challenge lies in anticipating the impact of new regulatory requirements on existing and planned Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCX configurations without disrupting service or incurring excessive rework. A proactive and systematic approach is crucial to avoid potential fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that specifically considers the implications of the new regulatory framework on UCX functionalities such as data storage, call recording, agent scripting, reporting, and user access controls. This assessment should identify specific UCX components and configurations that may require modification to ensure compliance. By thoroughly analyzing the potential impact, organizations can develop a targeted remediation plan, prioritize necessary changes, and allocate resources effectively. This aligns with best professional practice by demonstrating due diligence, mitigating risks proactively, and ensuring the system's ongoing compliance, thereby safeguarding the organization and its customers. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the new regulations, assuming existing UCX configurations are sufficient. This demonstrates a failure to stay abreast of legal and regulatory obligations, which is a significant ethical and professional lapse. It exposes the organization to substantial legal penalties and reputational damage, violating principles of responsible data stewardship. Another incorrect approach would be to implement broad, untested changes across the entire UCX system without a proper impact assessment. This is professionally reckless as it risks introducing new vulnerabilities, disrupting critical business operations, and potentially creating non-compliance issues in other areas. It lacks the systematic, risk-based decision-making required for effective system management and regulatory adherence. Finally, an approach that solely focuses on technical implementation without considering the business and legal implications of the regulatory changes is also flawed. This overlooks the core purpose of compliance, which is to protect individuals' data and uphold legal standards. It prioritizes technical solutions over the fundamental requirements of the regulatory framework, leading to a system that may be technically sound but legally non-compliant. Professionals should adopt a decision-making process that begins with understanding the specific requirements of the new regulatory framework. This should be followed by a detailed analysis of how these requirements intersect with the current UCX deployment. The next step involves identifying potential gaps and risks, developing a prioritized action plan, and implementing changes in a controlled and tested manner. Continuous monitoring and periodic reassessment are essential to maintain ongoing compliance in a dynamic regulatory environment. Question 17. The review process indicates that a critical update to the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) system is scheduled for deployment. To expedite the go-live date, the project team is considering a streamlined approach to assessing the potential impact of this update on existing contact center operations and user experience. Which of the following approaches represents the most professionally responsible and effective method for managing this impact assessment? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive, phased impact assessment, prioritizing core functionalities, critical user workflows, and essential reporting metrics before proceeding with the full deployment. Option B. Defer the formal impact assessment until after the update has been deployed to the production environment, allowing for real-time observation of any emergent problems. Option C. Proceed with the deployment immediately after basic developer unit testing, assuming that any significant issues will be identified and resolved post-implementation. Option D. Perform a cursory, high-level review of the update's documentation, focusing only on major system component changes without detailed workflow or user impact analysis. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive, phased impact assessment, prioritizing core functionalities, critical user workflows, and essential reporting metrics before proceeding with the full deployment. Explanation. Scenario analysis. The scenario presents a common challenge in contact center deployments, balancing the need for rapid implementation with the imperative to thoroughly assess the impact of changes on existing systems and user experience. The professional challenge lies in the potential for unforeseen consequences, such as service disruptions, degraded performance, or non-compliance with operational policies, if an impact assessment is rushed or incomplete. This requires careful judgment to prioritize critical areas and allocate resources effectively without compromising the integrity of the deployment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a phased impact assessment that prioritizes critical functionalities and user groups. This aligns with best professional practices by ensuring that the most vital aspects of the Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) deployment are validated first. This methodical approach minimizes the risk of widespread disruption. From a regulatory and ethical standpoint, this demonstrates due diligence in safeguarding service continuity and customer experience, which are often implicitly or explicitly covered by service-level agreements, SLAs, and consumer protection guidelines. By focusing on core services, the team can identify and mitigate high-priority risks early, preventing potential breaches of service commitments or negative customer feedback that could have reputational and financial repercussions. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to proceed with the deployment without any formal impact assessment, relying solely on developer testing. This is professionally unacceptable, as it bypasses essential validation steps, leading to a high probability of unforeseen issues impacting live operations. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for customer service quality and could lead to service failures, violating implicit trust. Another incorrect approach is to conduct a superficial, high-level assessment that only considers major system components. This is flawed because it fails to identify the nuanced impacts on specific workflows, agent scripts, or reporting metrics, which are crucial for operational efficiency and compliance. This can lead to subtle but significant performance degradations or reporting inaccuracies, potentially impacting business decisions or regulatory adherence. A third incorrect approach is to delay the impact assessment until after the deployment is complete. This is professionally unsound, as it shifts the burden of problem identification and resolution to a live environment, causing immediate disruption and potentially requiring costly emergency fixes. This approach also fails to proactively identify risks, which is a core tenet of responsible project management and ethical service delivery. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based approach to impact assessment. This involves identifying potential impacts, assessing their likelihood and severity, and prioritizing mitigation efforts accordingly. A structured methodology, such as a change management process that mandates impact assessments for all significant changes, is crucial. This process should involve cross-functional teams, including operations, IT, and business stakeholders, to ensure a comprehensive evaluation. Regular communication and documentation of assessment findings and mitigation plans are also vital for transparency and accountability. Question 18. The analysis reveals that a company is planning to deploy a new Cisco Unified Contact Center Express solution to enhance customer interaction management. Before proceeding with the technical implementation, what is the most critical step to ensure compliance with data protection regulations and ethical handling of customer information? Option A. Proceed with the technical deployment and address any data privacy concerns that arise after the system is operational. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, to identify and mitigate potential risks to personal data before and during the deployment. Option C. Obtain legal counsel's approval of the technical specifications without a detailed review of data processing activities. Option D. Rely solely on the existing privacy policy to govern the data handling practices of the new UCX solution. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, to identify and mitigate potential risks to personal data before and during the deployment. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between implementing new technology for improved customer service and ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations. The need to assess the impact of integrating a new Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCX) solution on existing data handling practices requires careful judgment to avoid unintended consequences. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough, documented, and risk-based impact assessment. This aligns with the principles of data protection by design and by default, as mandated by regulations like the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. If the jurisdiction were the EU, or similar frameworks in other jurisdictions that emphasize proactive risk management. By systematically identifying potential impacts on data privacy, security, and compliance, the organization can implement appropriate safeguards before deployment, thereby minimizing the risk of breaches or non-compliance. This proactive stance is ethically sound and professionally responsible, demonstrating a commitment to protecting customer data. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the technical implementation without considering data privacy implications represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It demonstrates a disregard for data protection laws, which can lead to substantial fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Such an approach fails to uphold the principle of accountability, as the organization cannot demonstrate that it has taken reasonable steps to protect personal data. Another incorrect approach, which involves a superficial review of privacy policies without a deep dive into the specific data flows and processing activities of the UCIC solution, is also professionally unacceptable. This approach is insufficient because it does not adequately identify the specific risks associated with the new system. It may overlook critical vulnerabilities or non-compliant data handling practices, leaving the organization exposed to regulatory scrutiny and potential breaches. Ethically, it falls short of the duty of care owed to customers regarding their personal information. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a multidisciplinary team including IT, legal, compliance, and business stakeholders. This team should conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, or equivalent, identifying all personal data processed, the purpose of processing, the legal basis, data retention periods, security measures, and third-party sharing. The assessment should then inform the design and implementation of the UCIC solution, ensuring that privacy by design principles are embedded throughout the project lifecycle. Regular reviews and updates to the assessment should be conducted as the system evolves. Question 19. The monitoring system demonstrates a sudden and sustained increase in inbound call volume, exceeding typical peak levels by 150%. Agents are reporting high levels of stress due to extended hold times. Which of the following actions, leveraging Cisco Unified Contact Center Express capabilities, best addresses this critical situation while adhering to professional service delivery standards? Option A. Temporarily disable all inbound call handling until the surge in call volume subsides to prevent agent burnout. Option B. Immediately route all available agents, regardless of skill set or current task, to handle the surge in inbound calls. Option C. Activate overflow queues to distribute calls to secondary agents and implement a dynamic announcement to inform customers of potential delays, while supervisors monitor agent workload and provide support. Option D. Allow all incoming calls to queue indefinitely until the volume naturally decreases, without any system adjustments or customer notifications. The correct answer is C. Activate overflow queues to distribute calls to secondary agents and implement a dynamic announcement to inform customers of potential delays, while supervisors monitor agent workload and provide support. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in contact center operations where a sudden increase in call volume, potentially due to an unforeseen event or marketing campaign, strains resources. A professional challenge lies in balancing the immediate need to manage the influx of calls with the long-term implications for customer satisfaction, agent well-being, and adherence to service-level agreements (SLAs). A reactive approach can lead to degraded service quality, increased customer frustration, and potential regulatory noncompliance if certain service standards are mandated. The need for a swift yet considered response is paramount. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a multifaceted strategy that leverages the capabilities of Cisco Unified Contact Center Express UCIC to dynamically manage the situation. This includes activating overflow queues to distribute calls to secondary agents or even different queues, implementing intelligent routing strategies to prioritize urgent calls, and utilizing real-time announcements to inform customers of potential delays. Furthermore, it necessitates proactive communication with supervisors and agents to manage expectations and workload. This approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the immediate surge while mitigating negative impacts on customer experience and operational efficiency. It aligns with the principles of effective incident management and service continuity, ensuring that the contact center can adapt to changing conditions without compromising its core functions or customer commitments. From a regulatory perspective, maintaining service levels and providing accurate customer information are often implicit or explicit requirements in service delivery frameworks. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to simply allow calls to queue indefinitely without any intervention. This is professionally unacceptable as it directly leads to prolonged wait times, significantly degrades customer satisfaction, and can result in missed SLAs. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the customer's time and experience. From a regulatory standpoint, depending on the industry and specific regulations, consistently failing to meet service-level targets could lead to penalties or reputational damage. Another incorrect approach is to immediately escalate all available agents to handle the surge, regardless of their skill set or current task. This can lead to inefficient call handling, increased agent stress, and a higher likelihood of errors. It fails to consider the optimal allocation of resources and can negatively impact the quality of interactions. Professionally, this is a brute force method that lacks strategic planning and can be detrimental to agent morale and long-term performance. A third incorrect approach is to disable inbound call handling altogether until the surge subsides. This is a severe failure in service delivery and would likely result in significant customer churn and severe regulatory repercussions, especially in industries where continuous service is expected. It represents a complete breakdown in operational continuity and a failure to meet fundamental service obligations. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding the scope and potential duration of the surge through real-time monitoring. The next step is to consult the predefined business continuity and incident management plans. This involves assessing the available resources within UCEX, such as agent availability, queue configurations, and routing scripts. The decision-making process should prioritize strategies that maintain acceptable service levels, inform customers transparently, and protect agent well-being. This often involves a combination of dynamic queue management, intelligent routing adjustments, and clear internal communication. Regularly reviewing and updating these plans based on past incidents is crucial for continuous improvement. Question 20. Market research demonstrates a growing demand for personalized customer interactions, prompting an urgent need to deploy a new Cisco Unified Contact Center Express solution. The project team is under pressure to go live within a tight deadline. Which of the following approaches best balances the need for rapid deployment with ensuring compliance and a positive customer experience? Option A. Focus solely on the technical performance and integration of the UCEX solution, assuming that compliance and customer experience will naturally align with a well-functioning system. Option B. Implement a limited pilot program for a small segment of customers to gauge technical performance, deferring a broader impact assessment until after the full rollout. Option C. Prioritize immediate deployment of the UCEX solution to meet market demand, with a plan to address any compliance or customer experience issues that arise after the system is operational. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment covering data privacy, security, regulatory compliance, and customer experience before full deployment, incorporating findings into the deployment plan and post-deployment monitoring. The correct answer is D. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment covering data privacy, security, regulatory compliance, and customer experience before full deployment, incorporating findings into the deployment plan and post-deployment monitoring. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between rapid deployment of a new contact center solution and the need for thorough impact assessment, particularly concerning data privacy and customer experience. The Cisco Unified Contact Center Express (UCEX) platform handles sensitive customer information, and any deployment must consider its downstream effects on data handling, compliance with relevant regulations, and the overall customer journey. The professional challenge lies in balancing the urgency of market demands with the imperative to avoid unintended negative consequences that could lead to regulatory penalties, reputational damage, and customer dissatisfaction. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive impact assessment before full deployment. This aligns with the principles of responsible technology implementation and data stewardship. Specifically, in the context of U.S. regulations, assuming this is the jurisdiction for 500-052, as no other is specified. This approach would involve evaluating how the UCEX deployment affects compliance with regulations like HIPAA, if handling protected health information, PCI DSS, if handling payment card data, and general data privacy principles outlined by FTC guidelines. A thorough assessment ensures that data is handled securely, consent mechanisms are adequate, and customer privacy is protected throughout the interaction lifecycle managed by UCEX. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of breaches, non-compliance, and subsequent legal or financial repercussions. An incorrect approach that bypasses a detailed impact assessment for speed would represent significant regulatory and ethical failures. For instance, failing to assess the impact on data privacy could lead to violations of data protection laws, such as the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, if applicable, by inadvertently collecting or processing personal information without proper consent or for unauthorized purposes. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for customer trust and the potential harm that mishandling of personal data can cause. Another incorrect approach, such as focusing solely on technical performance metrics without considering the customer experience, could lead to a system that is technically sound but frustrating for customers, potentially impacting brand loyalty and leading to complaints that could trigger regulatory scrutiny if they indicate systemic service failures. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk-based approach. First, identify all potential impacts of the UX deployment across technical, operational, security, privacy, and customer experience domains. Second, prioritize these impacts based on their potential severity and likelihood, with a strong emphasis on regulatory compliance and customer well-being. Third, develop mitigation strategies for high-priority risks. Fourth, conduct pilot testing and phased rollouts to validate the effectiveness of mitigation strategies and gather real-world feedback. Finally, establish ongoing monitoring and review processes to ensure continued compliance and optimal performance post-deployment. This iterative and comprehensive approach ensures that technology solutions are deployed responsibly and effectively.